My name is Justin Siemens. I live in Idaho Falls, Idaho. From the standpoint of being a stakeholder, I am the parent of a child still in high school. She attends Skyline High School in Idaho Falls, Idaho. My comment tonight pertains to the scientific standards and the recent decision by the legislature to strike 5 paragraphs from those standards that pertain to the overall subject of climate change. I support and highly encourage the Department of Academic Services to not only reload that issue and to take it back to the legislature next year, but I fully support the inclusion of those standards for our children and see the importance of those standards for their long-term education. Perhaps the most important thing I need to emphasize in my comment tonight is that science is not an ideology. It is not a political ideology. It is the body of empirical data. It is the body of inferential mathematics, and it is the body of testable hypotheses that explain the natural world around us. Everything from the law of gravity yesterday, to the Human Genome Project today, to the possible cure for cancer in the future. Right now, they estimate that in Congress, already 1/2 of all legislation to be considered involves science in some form. The standards that we have today and that have been stricken from our standards for Idaho education that deal with climate change are consistent with the empirical data and the current mathematical models that deal with this topic. The lay belief, including the legislative belief, that climate change is not empirically testable and verifiable is simply not science. Again, science is not an ideology, and it is not a political belief or expediency. The climate standards that were just stricken talked in part about an acronym that is known in the field as HIPPO, which stands for things that are caused by humans that are increasing or accelerating climate change, including the loss of species around the world. The acronym is HIPPO, which includes habitat loss, invasive species, pollution, and overpopulation. Some of the things that we have to struggle with as parents and that we have to explain to our children include the following. Roughly 6% of the world's population lives in America. Nonetheless, almost 1/3 of the world's consumption takes place by Americans, and almost 1/3 of its pollution is produced by Americans. With 8 billion people on the planet, the estimate to bring the other 7.5 billion up to our standard of living, including our cell phones, our vacation homes, our multiple cars, our boats, our houses, and everything else that we do, would take the natural resources of 4 more planets. That is the importance of science. We in the future are going to need skilled and competent scientists. We will need clean water systems, clean air systems, ecosystem engineers. These future skilled scientists will come from today's well-educated students. And today's well-educated students will come from well-taught classrooms. I encourage you to put the standards back, to include them once again in our scientific standards of education for our Idaho students. To not do that is a threefold problem. First, it is an offense to the scientists who have spent their lives in these fields, who are the educated people doing the best they can to educate the rest of us. Number 2, it's a trespass on our own children. And number 3, it's an insult to our own integrity. That's my comment.